I serve two roles. I'm a captain with the Division of Parole and Probation for headquarters, and I also serve as the commissioner for Nevada for the Interstate Compact. When it comes to the Interstate Compact, the things that are looked at is what is your support system in that other state? Are you a resident of the other state as defined by the compact, meaning that you were living there for at least a year prior to the date that you committed the offense? Or do you have resident family there that can serve as your support system? And resident family is fairly specific, but adult siblings and adult children can serve as your resident family sponsor to provide you with that tie to the other state that would allow you to qualify for a transfer. But that's just the first part of it. First, we have to establish what your support system is and whether or not you qualify for that transfer, and then we make a determination if it's in your best interest to request that transfer for you. Once we make that decision, there's an offender application for transfer, which includes a waiver of extradition, which is required to be signed before anyone is allowed to submit a request for transfer to another state. What that does is it outlines to you what the requirements of the compact are, that you're subject to terms and conditions not only by the sending state, which in this case would be Nevada, but also by the receiving state. If you were looking to join your family in Florida, that the Florida would be able to impose conditions on you that would be consistent in the same manner that they would treat one of their own offenders in a like circumstance. From the once that offender application for transfer with the waiver of extradition, and the waiver of extradition serves the purpose that if for some reason you violate the terms and conditions of your supervision, you understand that Nevada has the authority to come and return you to Nevada to answer for those violations. Once we obtain that signed offender application, we will process that along with the other paperwork and documents that we need to submit to the other state, and they will then have up to 45 days to conduct their investigation on whether or not you qualify for the transfer and whether or not you have a valid plan of supervision. Once they determine that, their caseworkers will forward that through their compact office back to the Nevada compact office. And once we have a decision by that other state, then that would be provided to you through your case manager or at the Department of Corrections. That's how the Interstate Compact part works. On the pre-release side, we have pre-release specialists who work closely with the caseworkers at the Nevada Department of Corrections. And they help to develop that valid plan of supervision we were talking about. What is your plan of release? Where do you want to go to? Who's your support system? Once they make that determination, they process the information that's necessary. And in this case, if you were to apply for an interstate compact, our pre-release specialists would be the ones to forward those documents to the other state for their consideration. Once the determination was made and once a valid plan was developed, then they would work with your caseworker to set up your release, and your caseworker would then manage the release through the Nevada Department of Corrections.
Does the panel have any questions for Kevin?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Laverne, I'm going to defer to the two of you and Mr. Simpson. We'd like Mr. Simpson to be able to tell us anything else he'd like to tell us. We'd also like to hear from one of the supporters if one of them wishes to make a brief statement to the board. And we would also like to hear your statement, Mr. Laverne. So I'm going to put that back to you as to what order you want those three things to happen.
We're going to hear from We're going to hear from Mr. Simpson's daughter, Arnell Simpson, first, and then I'll make some closing remarks.
Okay. And Officer Batista, if you will make that switch for us, please.
Thank you.
Yes, I am Arnell Simpson, my dad's oldest child.
Of course.
Welcome and feel free to speak.
Thank you. I'm a little nervous, so bear with me. I know it's a lot. As you know, I'm here on behalf of my family for the purpose of expressing what we believe is the true character of my father.
Daughter?
No one really knows how much we have been through this ordeal in the last 9 years. Excuse me.
My experience with him is that he was my best friend and my rock.
And as a family, we recognize that he is not the perfect man, but he's clearly a man and a father who has done his best to behave in a way that speaks to his overall nature and character, which is always to be positive no matter what. He has spent the last 9 years in Lovelock, as we all know, and has been a perfect inmate, following all the rules and making the best of the situation, which is truly amazing to me under the circumstances. The choice that he made like 9 years ago that resulted in the sentencing were clearly inappropriate and wrong and counterproductive to what he was trying to achieve. As a family, we were all there to celebrate a wedding of a very good friend. As his daughter, I can honestly say my dad recognized that he took the wrong approach and could not handle the situation, and he could have handled the situation differently. My siblings, I, and family know that he didn't make the right decision on that day, but we know that his intentions were not to go in and to just make the wrong decision at the wrong time. Throughout this ordeal, we have remained close. We have stayed strong. And I, for myself, am grateful to God for giving us the strength to get through this last 9 years and to stay positive always, no matter what. And a lot of that is because of him. So, on behalf of my family, my brother, my sister, an aunt, an uncle, his friends, we just want him to come home. We really do. We want him to come home. And I know in my heart that he is very humbled throughout the situation. This has been hard. To be honest, this has been really, truly hard. And there's no right or wrong way to explain how to handle this. But we do know that, and I know that, he is remorseful. He truly is remorseful. And we just want him to come home so that we can move forward for us, quietly, but to move forward. So I thank you for allowing me to be here this morning. I thank you.
Appreciate you being present and we appreciate your comments. And Officer Batista, if you would bring Mr. Laverne and Mr. Simpson back to the table, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Make any closing remarks that you'd like to make.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. Do you have a copy of the letter I provided through your liaison? It's an undated letter from Mr. Simpson to Assemblyman Osvaldo Fumo. That should have been provided to you. Okay. All right. So give me 2 seconds to get set up here, because that's where I'm going to start. Did you take the letter? I can't find it now. So. And the letter, as you can see, is very short, so I think it would be appropriate just to read it into the record, if the commissioners would allow me to. Fine. But the first thing I have to do is find it. Here it is. By way of setting this letter up, by the way, the most important part about this letter is that this was not a letter that Mr. Simpson provided to me. Okay. What happened?
Shut up.
Mr. Simpson at some point wanted me to communicate with an individual by the name of Osvaldo Fumo. He's an assemblyman now, and prior to that time, and still now, he's an attorney. And in the interest of full disclosure, he actually was one of Mr. Simpson's attorneys during the habeas proceedings related to this case. But since that time, Osvaldo, or Ozzy as I call him, he's a friend of mine too. He became an assemblyman with the Nevada legislature. And after that, Mr. Simpson sent Mr. Fumo a letter, and I found out about that letter not through Mr. Simpson. I found out about this letter through Mr. Fumo when I was advised to thank Ozzy Fumo for providing some books and some educational equipment to the prison here at Lovelock, Nevada. And so I'm going to read that letter. And by the way, Mr. Simpson did authenticate this letter this morning. I only produced this to him this morning when I got to see him prior to this hearing. He did indicate that he was the one who wrote this letter. And even though it's not dated, he indicated it was probably sent to Ozzy within the last 9 months or so. Dear Legislator Fumo, first of all, allow me to say how happy I was to hear about your new position as a state legislator, although I was not surprised to hear about your interest in furthering the education and helping of prison inmates. I must admit, I've always taken my exposure to education for granted, partly due to my prowess as an athlete. I have always been afforded opportunities for higher education. It wasn't until I got to prison that I realized just how many people did not have the exposure to said education, in part because of their circumstances, i.e. gangs, bad neighborhoods, lack of parental supervision, poverty, etc. But Ozzy, I can't tell you how inspiring it is to see how said inmates have taken advantage of the educational department and the advantages that it offers. I have seen a change in some inmates as far as their self-esteem goes that is amazing. They come to me to talk about subjects that they would have never even thought about before their exposure to education. They talk to me about things they want to do when they are released, things they never would have thought about they were capable of before. They say, quote, "You can't teach an old dog new tricks," end quote, and as a quote, "old dog," end quote, my friend, I can tell you that is not true. I am currently taking a computer science course, or just a computer course that is showing me that even I am capable of learning new skills. These new skills, at the very minimum, will help me better communicate with my children. Who knows, you may even see a webcast or blog in my future. I work in the athletic department here at Lovelock, and I fully enjoy what I do.
I don't think you should have read that part, though.
This is very important for the inmates to have a release for their energy and for recreation. But I can think of no better place to use state funds than to educate, add to their self-esteem, and to prepare these guys for their eventual release. In closing, I want to tell you how much I look forward to following your political career and your participation in what I know will be a very successful prison educational program. Gratefully yours, Orenthal J. Simpson. And it's signed by Mr. Simpson. The reason I wanted to read this to you is because, and just kind of surprise Mr. Simpson with it, is because obviously this is Mr. Simpson's, what I would consider one of Mr. Simpson's first opportunities to have clout in the political system of the state of Nevada. He pretty much has an end at that point. He has Ozzy Fumo, who they had an attorney-client relationship with, a very good relationship, and now Ozzy is in the assembly. He's in a position of power. And what does Mr. Simpson do? Does he say, Ozzy, can I have a better bed? Or does he say, Ozzy, can you pull some strings, get me out of here earlier? No, he doesn't do any of that. He uses that clout. The one time he has some clout in the state of Nevada, he uses that clout to obtain funding for books and education in this prison. And some of those men, as Mr. Simpson said, they really are going to get out and they're going to have a decent and a better life for themselves as the result of Mr. Simpson's efforts through Mr. Fumo. I think that's the definition of character. And frankly, I think if it was me personally who had been in prison for 9 years, and frankly, forget 9 years, 9 days, if I had that opportunity in a position of someone in a position of power who could do something for me like this, I would say, get me out of jail, okay? But he doesn't do that. It is very, very, very selfless. He's thinking about the people here, and it's also the definition someone had asked earlier about being humbled and some humility. It also shows a genuine form of humility that he has the capabilities to think of
Others
here who are not as empowered and not as privileged as he has been, and when he gets out, probably will continue to be in society. So that's the first part of my closing remarks. The second part of my closing remarks is to deal with the other individual in this case that was a victim. He's not here. Mr. Tremont is sitting right here, and that's Mr. Beardsley. Mr. Beardsley, as you, I'm sure, are aware, is no longer with us. He passed away in about November of 2015. However, Mr. Beardsley and Mr. Tremont have made calls to my office, and I've spoken to them both at various points. And the last time I recall speaking to Mr. Beardsley was in September of 2011. This is not that long after I had maybe been representing Mr. Simpson for a couple of years at that point. I was a little uncomfortable that Mr. Beardsley, who is a victim in a case, and my client is considered the person who victimized him, was calling me. So I did explain to him that I wanted to record the conversation. And he consented, and I asked him if he wanted an attorney before he talked to me. He said he's fine. I say this, I bring up this recorded conversation because I reviewed it in anticipation of this hearing, and that was from 2011, as I stated before. And since he's no longer here, I think I could just speak from someone who's speaking from the dead. He indicated in no uncertain terms in that conversation that he had cleared up this matter with Mr. Simpson. He was trying his hardest to do whatever he wanted to get Mr. Simpson out of prison, and they had just made it right. Mr. Simpson had apologized to him.
We just want to break in right now. Sharon Tay, along with Jeff Michael, you are watching live coverage here on KCAL.